So we are recording, and we want this to be sort of interactive. So we're not asking people to, I am not muting everyone. However, if you have background noise, we are going to ask that you please mute yourself, as I'm sure your animals do not have a lot of questions. So I am very happy to introduce Phil Callahan, who at the beginning of the pandemic decided there had to be ways to safely get out and about. And so we started walking through Pasadena. So Phil is going to tell you ways to explore our city on foot, step by step, and I will let Phil take over from here.
Okay, hello. So
Over.
put this in, come on, slideshow. There we go. So this, as Judy said, we really want this to be interactive, and I want to hear about your walks, and particularly was hoping some of our mountain hikers, Susan Auerbach or Claire, or those people would come on and tell us a little bit about hiking in the mountains. And that was, so going back to not exactly the beginning of the pandemic, but at one point they closed all the parks and all the hiking trails, which actually seemed kind of counterproductive. And then they opened up and they sort of turned into a zoo. And so we decided for social distancing that we would just walk the streets of Pasadena. And that's where this came from. So some of these things came from. And then I've put in the chat, and then down here at the bottom, there's actually other people have thought of this. And Pasadena actually has a lovely brochure, which I will show you parts of in a minute, where it's where this logo down at the bottom came from. And anyhow, there are 10 walks in Pasadena that I'll list. And then I just decided, I sort of ran amok last night and decorated the front page here. The upper left are jacarandas, which you all know come into bloom the sort of middle to end of May. That picture is taken from the Trader Joe's parking lot on the roof looking down on Del Mar. The upper right are some peacocks which have invaded our neighborhood, and they're lovely to look at, but they're noisy, messy, and for a long time they were eating my garden. I found out the secret to keeping them out of the garden, but and then the lower left is just a little stroll I took one evening, and it's sort of a Chamber of Commerce sunset there with palm trees. And then just down the street from us by Hamilton School, this little house has a banana tree in the front yard, and lo and behold, it has bananas. I just think it's kind of hilarious that here it's not exactly the tropics, but we're growing bananas. Okay, so so this is a map of Pasadena stolen from Apple Maps. The upper left are the walks that are listed in this Pasadena brochure. Oh, I didn't. I'm going to talk about a few of them, because a few of them we've actually done. The ones in brackets either aren't on the map or we haven't done, and so I'm not going to say much about them. And then so in the brochure, there's obviously a map that looks kind of like this, and I've put probably most of you know where these things are. And then one of the things that isn't in the brochure, but is one of our favorite things to do with grandchildren, are the turtle ponds at Caltech. So the little slope in Caltech where for those of you who are long time Pasadena residents, remember Troop Hall, one of the original buildings of Caltech, and was, when I arrived for graduate school, was the administrative building of Caltech and was damaged in the San Fernando earthquake, which we just celebrated the 50th anniversary of. Anyhow, it was eventually torn down and they put in this little flowing stream, and at the bottom is this pool that's become inhabited by probably 100 turtles that come out and bask. Anyhow, it's a great place to go with the grandchildren. And in fact, the lawn in front of Beckman Auditorium, the sort of white mushroom on campus, has become a bit of a public park there. So on weekends, there are lots of families hanging out there. Let's see. So I don't have any pictures over on the left. I'm sure many of you know that the federal court has taken over that old hotel that overlooks the Arroyo that you see from the 134 freeway, and Grand Avenue that the building is located on has a bunch of really fantastic. So most of these hikes are just about seeing really interesting architecture, and they're just a number of really lovely craftsmen and various sorts of architecture over there along Grand Avenue behind the Tournament House, as well as let's see. So I think I have something about most of the rest of this. So let's move on here. So this is number 4.
Ellen's on.
Yeah, I know. Yes, Ellen is here. So what number 4 in the walks of in the brochure is this area near the Huntington Hotel. It's actually just off the edge. This is actually copied out of the brochure, but this particular little neighborhood right by the start there in the upper part of the map is the Blacker House, which some of you may know our congregants, the Nells, bought quite a number of years ago and have done an absolutely beautiful job of restoring, and in fact are working on restoring some of the grounds of it. And anyhow, it's one of the finest examples. Actually, I think it is the finest example I have been in. I think it's much nicer than the Gamble House, actually. But it exemplifies the woodwork and so on that the Greens were famous for. And almost across the street is another Green house that is totally different than most of their work. So you know they're famous for these craftsman houses with all the wood. The one, as I say, more or less across the street is this very Asian looking place. There is a little plaque by the front door. We did not go up and read it, so I can't recite the history to you. And then around the corner, let's see, does the pointer work? Yes. So, and this house down here around the corner is this location, was actually recently for sale. And I've always loved it because it doesn't show too well in this picture, but it has an extremely elaborate wood-shaped roof that's done up a little bit. I call it a Swiss chalet. I really don't know what the style of architecture is, but I've always just loved this house. Anyhow, so as you can see, there are quite a number of places here. And then, of course, a little ways down Oak Knoll is the Huntington Hotel. And Judy reminded me today that recently they reopened. There's the bridge behind the hotel, whose name I don't remember, but it has some beautiful colored panels. It's inside the covered bridge, and they sort of just before the pandemic finished restoring it. So that would be a really interesting site. And then I also don't have a picture, but these houses over here, they're look a little bit like log cabins. They look like sort of like something that belongs in a park, like the fanciest ranger's cabin in a park. Anyhow, so it's just a beautiful area to walk around and see our architecture. So this next thing is Mount Wilson Trail Park. So the Mount Wilson, if you just punch into your phone or whatever, Mount Wilson Trail Park, it will lead you up here to the little pin. And this walk, we actually had the Saturday section of the LA Times
10 years ago.
Right now, what's it called? Because they still have it. Anyhow, the extra section in the Saturday LA Times a number of years ago had these various walks, and this was one that we saved out of that. And one day we decided to do it, and so we headed up there, and we started out on the walk and kind of came up here, and we got to a certain point, and we're looking for the next thing to do on the walk, and this guy was coming up his driveway and saw the newspaper in our hand and said, "Oh, you're doing that. You can't really do that because it's a private, where it tells you to go is actually private property." So we turned around and made our way back. Anyhow, I clipped the map a little too tightly, but right off the edge down here. So if you come around this 90-degree bend, and right down here is Sturtevant Drive, which comes over here and then up into this area. You can sort of do the LA Times walk in reverse. And it's just this really interesting, funky hillside. And so it's Little Santa Anita Canyon. Little Santa Anita Creek comes down here and is stopped in this reservoir, which was built in, I believe, the 1920s. And they're currently doing a little bit of restoration work on it. And then some of the places where roads don't show here, there are actually walking pathways that you can kind of make your way through all of these homes up here. And then this is a picture. There was a very famous place here called Mary's Market, which unfortunately now, because of the pandemic, is closed, but it's a little market and cafe.
Oh, I remember that.
But just for the pandemic.
Right. It looks like they will come back. I'm sure someone will bring it back, but
there it is. Yeah.
Right now it's closed. Anyhow, and they're also they're very fond of their proud, whatever of their bears up there in the hills of Sierra Madre. Anyhow, so most of our walks are pretty flat. This one's fairly hilly, but it is very shady. So it's something you could even though it's kind of hilly, it wouldn't be that hot if you did it in the summer. And this is a little old museum, also closed for the pandemic, at the foot of it's right here in the corner of this park, at the foot of the Mount Wilson Trail. And the Mount Wilson Trail does suffer exactly as we sort of noted, of being kind of zooey, that there are just tons and tons of people going up the trail here, but there's hardly anyone walking. There are people out walking their dogs, but there's certainly no crowds over in this area, and it's just a very pleasant walk. Okay, this is another one that isn't on the official Pasadena tour, partly because it's in South Pasadena, which may be why they left it out. But it's actually the neighborhood that I didn't take a picture of the broad street, but the street in front of these two houses was apparently used in many of the scenes in Back to the Future. And the kind of interesting thing is at the bottom of it, there's this high arched bridge that goes over the Gold Line tracks and down to Fair Oaks Avenue. And until we did this walk, I had no idea that this was here. I just thought this whole area was hemmed in by the railroad cut, because of course this, back when passenger trains ran through to the station in Pasadena, these were the railroad tracks, now the Gold Line. Anyhow, it's an interesting little area down there. So many of you probably know of Bungalow Heaven up north of Orange Grove, between Orange Grove and Washington,
Yeah.
and between about
Wilson,
west of, yeah, between Wilson and not quite to Hill, but sort of between Wilson and Holliston.
the Lefkowitzes are on Wilson.
Right. Yeah. This is not the Lefkowitz's house, but
Oh, this is yellow.
but it's I forget which street it's on, but this is the neighborhood. So there are just lots of little bungalows, many of which have been restored, reconditioned, and so on. And it was an area that 20 or 30 years ago, people were afraid was in decline, and things were going to be torn down for apartments and whatever, and has recovered. Oh, and I need to go back to the map here for a minute. So right in the middle of it, there's this really nice park, again, for children and grandchildren. I guess most of us are more in the grandchildren department, but there's a really nice park here. And then the other thing that there is excuse me, up on Washington, there are two eateries of note. There's a bakery called Seeds that uses all sorts of ancient grains and makes really interesting breads and so on, and then also has sandwiches and a few takeout foods that you can get and take down to the park. And then there's a relatively new, well, it's been here a couple of years now,
Mills.
cafe restaurant called Millie's that, let's see, it's at the corner of Allen, I think. Anyhow, it's on the, I think it's right here it's on the north side of Washington, and I think it's just west of Allen. Anyhow, they have really good food. And so it's two places you can get interesting food to take over here to the park and have a nice picnic. Oh, and I guess let's,
Wait, you skipped the one, the Grand Avenue was on that other slide.
right, well, I'm
Oh.
going to go back. I realized while I was here, I didn't, I don't think I have any pictures of Lombard Road. This is actually, there are a number of interesting houses along here. There's another famous, not as famous as Green Brothers, but someone named Neff. It's built quite a number of various Spanish style houses, some of them larger and some of them smaller, along Lombardy Road, here above the Huntington Gardens. And then also there are a couple up on Berkeley, just north of California. And this area, Madison Heights, also has some on South El Molino. There's some more green houses, and there are all sorts just in this neighborhood of all these little streets. There are all sorts of different styles of houses. It's just a very pleasant but interesting kind of just someplace you don't normally go, I would say. Okay, so back to where it was. Oops. I fell off. Sorry, off the end.
Oh, this one, oh, here.
Well, go back. What's happened?
Happened there. Lost
Go
it.
back to the Markham and the fig tree.
Oh, there we go.
Wait, I'm missing a slide.
What was this one? With the
This
heart?
one.
Oh, I didn't talk about it when I was on the bungalow heaven. Oh, so this is, I did not know this area had a name, but it's in the brochure as the Governor Markham Victorians area. So it's on South Orange Grove, just north of West, if you know where Westridge School is, on the east side of Orange Grove, south of Tournament House, and
Well, the Victorians are mostly north of Tournament House. Anyway, go on.
well, anyhow, in this area, and so this is we were walking around there, and we're just really impressed with the size of this fig tree, and it's also a very interesting craftsman style house here. But it's an area that kind of escaped the 710 freeway ditching, and the edge of it overlooks what would have been the 710 freeway if it were not for South Pasadena. So I think that's all the pictures I have. So I'd really like to hear. I know that the Lindstones do a lot of walking, and anyone else have any interesting places to walk around here in Pasadena? Please speak up.
When you stop sharing your screen. So
Well, maybe I'll leave the map up.
because then people can see.
Oh, people can't see.
There.
Okay, anyhow, so if anyone has any favorite walks, haunts,
Well, I used to
Go
walk
on.
around Grand. Grand had some interesting houses, big houses in back of the Wrigley Mansion. But I used to walk all the way up Orange Grove and then come around and go down on Grand. That was when
Right.
I did a lot more walking than I can now.
right?
And also, I don't know if you can still do this, but when the school was there on the corner, the got the name of the religion that had that school, the big school on the
Yeah.
corner.
Oh, Ambassador College.
That's their college. Yes. And we used to walk up Orange Grove and then walk through the grounds of the college, which were really beautiful. And they had some ballpark there on the corner near Del Mar. And but just walking through there, it was the plantings were so beautiful.
So part of it is now Maranatha, which I don't think you can walk through because it's a school. But there's obviously some places you still can, because when we were on one of our walks, we met a couple who had this big bag of fish food. They were going to Ambassador College to feed the koi. So it may be another grandchild
And that's-
destination. We have not tried that, but supposedly there's a large koi pond that one can
Oh,
get to.
I have not, that wasn't there in those, when I used to do that. Maranatha runs there's a school there, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Carroll Street?
Oh, right. That's so another place that, well, in LA, so it's not in Pasadena. It's a little bit of a drive, and somehow we don't have any pictures of it, but anyhow, the place is Carroll Street, which is down sort of by Dodger Stadium.
Oh,
And
yeah,
there are few just actually just like 4 or 6 blocks, but of Victorian,
that's right.
the original Victorian houses on the knoll there. And some of them have been beautifully restored and some of them not so much. And then the other thing that's from there that's kind of down the hill is Echo Park Lake, which is a
Yeah,
pretty interesting place. It's a really nice homeless encampment around parts of the lake. So you have to not be, it's fairly well organized and actually fairly clean, but you just have to not be put off by the concept of some of our fellow citizens have to live in tents, but
They have pedal boats.
oh, right, they're the Swan pedal boats on the Echo Park Lake. And this is open during the pandemic. You can rent pedal boats and go out in the lake.
on Carroll Street there, we went up there one year and we saw a lot of those homes, and they told us, some of the neighbors there, once a year, they have open houses. So that, I don't know what's happened now with the pandemic, or when did they stop it, but they used to do that. And so you could go up there, park your car somewheres around there and visit some of the houses that were open.
That would be really, really interesting.
So we did that.
Is that Carol Street? Simple spelling?
I think there are 2 R's.
Mhm.
Video, on video.
But it's right near Echo Park.
Some of the places we like to go is, I mean, you mentioned a number of them, Phil, but Lombardy, but just kind of going through just the Turtle Pond, but kind of going out, I usually go out like San Pasquale and then come back on either Lombardy or go down to Orlando. That area is really nice. We can kind of head towards kind of Lacey Park in San Marino, or stay up on Circle Drive. And Oak Grove is very nice. Nice houses there. It's quiet. Some places have some nice landscaping. What I like best is just it's usually very quiet, and it's just very nice. Broad, quiet streets, nice houses, nice landscaping, and it's nice, peaceful.
Right. If you want something a little more strenuous, if you go, as Clark was saying, down to Lacey Park, and then out of the north edge of Lacey Park, there's a street called Shenandoah.
Mhm.
It's very steep coming back up to I guess it hits Oak Grove at the top. But
No, Shenandoah does hit, Shenandoah hits, doesn't hit Oak Grove. It hits Rosalind.
It's Rosalind, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very pretty area to walk around.
Yeah, as I say, you can get some. Brian, you had a comment?
Yeah, it's not about a house, but it's an accoutrement to a house. It's a tree with the most wonderful root system visible. It's at 505 Grand, and Grand is probably a couple of blocks south of California, something in that area.
South Grand.
But it just took our breaths away when we walked by it. And we took several pictures of it. I was thinking maybe I could make a sculpture like that. That didn't quite turn out, but the intertwining of the roots showing above the earth is just fantastic. It's worth a little stop.
505, okay.
South of
About
California.
5 grand, yeah.
So you said just south of California?
It's a couple of blocks south of California, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes. Do you want to tell them about Lincoln,
Lincoln.
the whole Lincoln area that we walk?
Yeah, we walked the other day, just off of Foreign Grove, on, was it Bellefontaine? No, Markham.
It's the Markham, sorry, it's the Markham Walk that you just talked about. That
Yeah.
was in the brochure. We did that on Sunday. It
Hmm.
was
That's,
lovely.
that's south of California, yeah.
Right. But I was talking about the area we found by Lincoln, by the post office,
Oh, yeah.
right? So that's what you want to tell them about.
Just south of the Gamble House. If you're coming south on Lincoln and you come to a stop sign, you make a sharp left, and Orange Grove continues, and there's a couple of large brick entry gate, not gates, but what would you call them?
Oh,
Pillars?
yeah,
Yeah, it's just a wonderful area to walk through.
Beautiful.
There's a lot of Prospect Street, Prospect Street,
Mm,
Prospect
yeah.
Circle, Prospect Avenue, Prospect Road, Prospect Dead End. But it's a great for an hour stroll, just to see those big
Beautiful.
houses. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the bridge that goes over to Chandler School is,
That's it.
Yes,
there's the Secco Street that goes down into the Arroyo to the Rose Bowl. and the
that's right.
bridge that I used to bicycle home from JPL,
Oh.
past Chandler, across the bridge and up Prospect.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Another place that we discovered, again, by reading the LA Times a few years ago. Do people know about Peanut Lake? There's this lake, this is when we rolled the Gold Line, and it was right near the Southwest Museum. What's the park? Anyway, there's I can't remember the name of the park. Anyway, across from the Southwest Museum stop on the Gold Line is a park. And in that park, you can walk up the hill, and on top of the hill is this little lake that has benches for you to sit on, and there's ducks, and it overlooks the views from it. You can look down over a wind farm, and then the solar panels farm. It's just this lovely walk. And then we decided to do it at somewhere near the beginning of the pandemic, and discovered that the park was closed, so you couldn't get into the path up there. But so we walked around the area called, not Montecito, Monterey.
Right, it's not Montecito Heights, but it's
Anyway, the area around this park has some really interesting architecture, and there's this from the 1900s. There's this combination of bungalows and RV park. It must be one of the oldest RV parks in the area, and it's very tiny. It's this tiny RV park that also has little bungalows you can rent. There's just wonderful things to discover if you just walk around our wonderful city.
Okay, yeah, I have a nice talk with Elva today, but I'll tell you about it.
Edie, do you want to mute yourself?
Bye, bye.
Or you can hang up too. Okay.
People call no matter what you're doing,
Yes.
but I was making an appointment with somebody and I really needed to talk to her. What was this you wanted to ask me?
To mute yourself, but you don't need to anymore.
Oh,
so Claire, have you been hiking in the local mountains? You're sort of our mountain person here.
I think Claire looks frozen.
Claire, did you freeze?
Yeah, I'd like to put in a pitch for the Pasadena Village.
it's up on, what was that street?
I'll cut off my video and see if it helps. Does that,
And you're cutting in and out.
can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Lousy internet, never
Sometimes.
mind.
Now you've disappeared totally. I
Yeah.
think what she was going
All right.
to mention is there's a
Alright,
group
skip
called
it.
the Pasadena Village
Yeah,
that, Claire, they do walking tours, right? Or they walk? We've lost Claire.
No, we walk,
Yes,
we um, walk every Friday. And we hike once a month, like myself. I wanted to ask Phil if,
Claire, why don't
he
you type your question in the
knows
chat?
Cajamonga and the trail from JPL around and down to the Rose Bowl.
I've never done that. We've hiked up the fire road and the,
To the
yeah.
falls.
right, you know, if you go above the JPL parking lot, there's that fire road that goes up and up. We've hiked up there quite a ways. I guess my only fear about that is it would be after you get to the top of the fire road, it just turns into a narrow trail and might be kind of crowded. But, okay, Claire has put in the chat.
To ask about the Pasadena Village and
We walk every Friday morning on various Pasadena streets and hike once a month. All senior citizens. Of course, none of us are senior citizens, so.
are people finding other ways to sort of get out there and stay physical during all of this?
Yeah, since the gyms are closed, I've been doing body weight exercises outdoors, and there are some parks that have exercise equipment.
Ah,
Oh, where?
Well, here in Altadena, Charles White Park has the fitness sort of things where different types of equipment, and there are other parks. You'd have to look it up. I'm not sure. You know, a lot of the parks you mentioned in Pasadena have it, but I actually go by JPL La Cañada High School early in the morning, and I just do the body weight exercises outside. I'm outdoors. It's early. There's grass. It's really nice, and the gym is going to open up. They actually have outdoor now, and they're going to be opening for indoor potentially in the next couple of weeks. So I'll be able to get back in there. But you don't need weights. You don't need equipment. You don't need to go to the gym. You can just do push-ups and sit-ups. And if you want to even do it, you know, in your backyard, in your house, you can do push-ups against the wall. You don't even have to do it laying down, you know, or being horizontal. You can do it vertical. And squats, you can do it without weight, just squats up and down. And you know, a lot of you guys don't know, but it's not my day job, but I'm a certified personal trainer and a competitive drug-free bodybuilder as well. And so I know a lot of background, and my continuing education has been on aging and because I'm going to be, believe it or not, I'm going to be 65 in a couple of months. So Medicare, wahoo! I paid in for 40 years and I'm still paying in. So at any age you can do it. And as we get older, we definitely need that resistance exercise, and walking is, you know, low resistance. It's very good. And if there's any medical people here, they know what sarcopenia is, which is age-related muscle loss. You want to avoid that. So any sort of even light resistance work you can do it.
But let's see, Bonnie, you have your hand up. Bonnie?
I'm sorry, maybe I probably pushed that instead. I didn't realize it was happening.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
okay.
So this may be one of our shoulders. So again, read all your temple emails. I have heard rumor that there may be an online yoga class starting. again, it's just a rumor that, that I heard with a list of things that may be going on. There is going to be a meditation class beginning on Sunday early afternoon, starting in March. There's going to be an exploration of the prayer book with Rabbi Mann starting in April. The meditation class that Louise is going to be teaching is specifically going to be on Jewish meditation. And it's in addition, we have 3 times during the week where meditation groups are already meeting. This is going to be more of an introduction to the whole concept of meditation. But, you know, we really encourage you to get out and explore our city. We didn't talk about the fact that one of the walks we've been doing is every few months. God, isn't it awful that you can say months, but every few months we've been walking into Old Town just to see it's fun to see what stores are going out, what stores are coming in. I mean, but what's really interesting is things that have opened during the pandemic and seem to be doing well, pandemic or not. And the architecture in Old Town is just really interesting, or, you know, some of the stuff along Green. If you haven't seen the new Kaiser Medical Center,
Well, it's
pretty impressive, where they're training doctors. I don't know how many of you know about this. Kaiser now has a med school in Pasadena, and it's an interesting concept. The doctor, if you are training there to be a doctor, you do not pay tuition as long as you work for when you become a doctor. And I have no idea how they're doing the internships and residencies, but if you agree to work for Kaiser for a certain number of years, you go to med school for free. So it's in,
sort of like going to a military academy.
right.
across the
Get a free-
street from the Planetary Society.
Yes, yes, because the
yeah,
Planetary Society. Anyway,
Speaking of that, Lou is going to speak. Lou is going to have a program.
It already.
you're asking me if Lou's going to have a program?
He's got a program
He
coming.
did one. He did one several months ago.
No,
Right, Lou did one on Mars before Perseverance. I keep calling it Percy. Before, he did one a few months ago about, well, all the people who were headed towards Mars. It was obviously before Perseverance landed. Edie, you're muted again.
he's going to have pictures of Perseverance.
Well, no, he did. So he did one a few months ago. I don't know if he's doing another one for another organization, but we don't have him scheduled yet for another social hall.
Actually, Eric is here. Eric, do you know any Temple members who work directly on the Mars program? Eric?
Well, Eric may have left.
Sorry, I left
Oh.
my mic off. Not that I can think of.
Right, I was trying to think if there was anyone we could get to do a social hall. You know,
Bonnie is the obvious person, but she's
yeah.
not. I mean, she's planetary more than I am, obviously, more than we are as engineers. But
Right. Well, she's mostly outer
more-
planets.
more icy moon, yeah, outer planet.
Well, we will keep looking.
Oh, I think it's something that I've got in the next flame, which is why I know about it, because I got the article. So it goes in the March issue.
What is it that's in the flame?
I think the Men's Club is going to have a program about Perseverance and the pictures that are coming back from Perseverance.
Oh,
So Lou may be doing something for them.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
right,
so
since
that
he's-
will be-
Since he's the program chair for Men's Club, I
Breathe
think.
breathe the flame for all the latest news.
Yeah, I should know theoretically, but they did announce there was we had somebody from JPL Azilai, so he made a nice talk, but he's retiring now, so
Well, we'll get it. We'll get to see it.
So
Let's see.
if no one has things they would like to add? Anyone? I would like to thank Phil for
Yes.
sharing our
Thank you. Phil.
adventures.
Thank you so much.
And well, oh, I did want to say, so we didn't know about this brochure until 2 days ago when Ellen Dinnerman sent us a copy of it and said, did you know this exists? But the nice thing, if you get the brochure about the Pasadena walks, is their walks tend to be very, within just a mile. I mean, Phil and I have been doing these long treks, but the Pasadena brochure, the walks are very doable. And they have, they tell you what you're looking at. So if you want to get that brochure, I think Phil put in the chat.
Right, I put in the chat as a link, and you can just download the PDF of the brochure.
But Pasadena has wonderful areas to explore. It's one of the lovely things about Pasadena. So walk out of your house if you live in Pasadena. And I mean, Arcadia may have lovely areas to explore also. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but walk out of your houses, turn the corner, and just start walking. And the wildlife of Pasadena, you can now see squirrels and coyotes and peacocks and all sorts of wildlife.
So I'm sorry I came late, but we walk, so we're on the far east north side of Pasadena, and we actually go to Sierra Madre, and they have Bailey Canyon, and Bailey Canyon is full of people. So it's a beautiful place to walk, but everybody else thinks the same thing.
Well, that's Eric. I don't know. Were you on when we were looking at walking around Mary's Market?
No, I'm sorry I came late. We
So-
were
So
eating and
we
talking.
talked about the fact that we went to do the Mount Wilson Trail, which is also incredibly crowded. So we instead just took off walking. There was an LA Times article just around Mary's Market in the hills up there, and there's wonderful houses. It's sort of a community of old hippies and people who've obviously moved in recently and are fixing up houses, and people who've lived there a very long time. It's just a fascinating mix of people and houses and architecture.
Where is it?
Do you know where Mary's Market is?
No.
On
No. Or
Sturdivant, Stuyvesant,
Sturdivant.
Street.
I think if you type Mary's Market into it,
Is it
into
in-
one of your,
Is it
It's-
Pasadena or?
It's
No,
Sierra
Sierra
Madre.
Sierra
It's
Madre.
near the Mount Wilson Trail.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've been there. Right. It's like it used to be like hunting cabins. There were little cabins and.
There's just
No,
all
no,
sorts
no,
of stuff up
these-
there.
These are real houses. I guess a couple of them look like cabins, but no, these are real houses. Well, and actually the other thing I would say about that area, the map that I showed, it's really an area that I would much rather walk than drive, because the roads are sort of 1.5 lanes, and
Yeah,
some of the
narrow and windy. Yeah.
some of the potholes would eat my little fit car. So, definitely suitable for walking.
So we didn't take other pictures, and it's more of an uphill. Another interesting place is if you keep walking up Baldwin, right, to the very top. Is that where that was?
Yeah.
If you walk up Baldwin to the very top, there's this wonderful old farmhouse that's sort of falling down. And then there's this incredible new subdivision where they put in all this infrastructure in terms of the roads and water. And someone was telling us it started about 10 years ago.
Well, and they've made the housing pads, they've leveled lots.
And there's wonderful views. And Sierra Madre, whichever developer put all this money into it, about 3 years ago, Sierra Madre decided that they really didn't want them building up there anyway. So it's just lots, but it's sort of really pretty up there and there's interesting views. And you have to admit when you're walking around there with the fire dangers the way they were, why they were ever going to let anyone build up there anyway is pretty amazing. But there's rabbits running around and it's actually a pretty cool area. You have to be, well, I mean, it is an uphill walk. If you've ever wondered what happened to Baldwin, that's what happens to Baldwin at the very top.
Huh. Yeah, I know Abby and I have been up there in that area, and it is amazing. Of course, there were a lot of houses that, they private, don't walk up here, but
Yeah,
so
well,
we
these
should
are
go
just-
up to Baldwin. That's good. I mean, we walk there pretty often, so you just got to keep going up and up the hill.
And you can see the development that's not going to be. It's unclear what's going to happen to all this land. If
Yeah,
they're
especially
gonna
now.
let the brush take over or whatever, but it's got great roads. These really wide roads that lead to nowhere now. Anyway, get
Cool.
out there,
Thanks.
explore, watch for upcoming social halls, and again, join us next week when we're going to hear about the California court systems from two of our congregants who are Superior Court judges.
Okay, and I just want to add something. This was wonderful, and I thought I knew a lot about Pasadena, Altadena, walking around, and I'm hearing of areas either I forgot about or didn't know about. Is someone ambitious enough to write these up?
Well, there is that brochure that you can get.
But it did not include the rabbits and the.
No, but we have recorded this. If you ask Burl, you can get a recording. So Ellen, as you are on here and we were just walking around your neighborhood, how is the garden coming in the restoration?
Oh, okay. Harvey, do you want to comment on that one? It's coming.
Okay. Do you still have Green and Green's granddaughter involved?
Yes. All, 90 years of her?
Wow.
How old is Isabel?
She's in her high 80s.
In her very high 80s. Yes, she is involved, and we are reconstructing the pond.
Ooh.
Part of that will be a swimming hole, but they will be contiguous and somewhat mixed.
Very nice.
But anyway, where was the place with the rabbits?
At the very top of Baldwin.
Okay.
If you hike all the way, and Sierra Madre's, Sierra Madre, the city is lovely to walk through. And then if you just keep walking up Baldwin, at the very top of Baldwin, you come into this deserted housing development. And there's all sorts of bunnies and things wandering around.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you both.
Well,
You're
up near the
welcome.
mountains, we see lots of bunnies and coyotes and different wildlife. And fortunately, we don't have bears, but in Sierra Madre, they have more bears.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
Who doesn't have bears? Who said that?
Eric,
Pasadena, Altadena has bears. Our son and daughter-in-law live up not very high in Altadena and Canoble. And the sheriff came by a couple of years ago with mega thing saying to the people working in the garden, get into your vehicle now, bears, just as a mother bear and the cub climbed over their fence.
Wow.
And it's just above the Altadena Country Club. This was 2 years ago. There were two moms and cubs up there.
Ah, yes, the flora and fauna and
Okay.
what? Oh, wait. Okay, Phil's going to get, so Phil, a couple of years ago, we used to have we still have the daughter-in-law. She no longer works for the wine agency. But Phil got really into all of the bears that were swimming in the pool. And when she had to brand wine, he really wanted her to make a bear in the pool wine. So she did make up some labels. If you can look at Phil, he's holding it. We have some Callahan bear in the pool wine. She never,
I can't see them.
she did not follow it through for her.
Right, never made it to grocery store shelves, but
How's Callahan?
Can't get it in Ralph's.
Vineyard?
No.
for Hanukkah, they gave us a case of red and a case of white with the
Bear in the pool. Sponsored by all of the bears that were lounging in pools in Altadena and La Cañada. In that area. Anyway, so thank you all. We will see you next week
Thank
for the
you.
court systems.
Thank you.
Read your emails, read your temple emails,
Thank you
and
both.
we will
Yeah.
Thank you.
take care.
Okay.
Thanks, Judy. Thanks, Phil.
Bye-bye.